Hello neighbor, this is Curt with eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at the Thule Epos 3 bike rack with LEDs. Now the Epos is an excellent bike rack if you're looking for versatility. And what I mean by that is that there are a lot of different styles of bikes out there, and some of them have different features, different sizes, different materials that they're made of. So having a bike rack that'll be able to accommodate just about any bike that you want to bring along to the trail is a huge plus. So we're going to begin talking about the versatility of the bike rack, but in this video we're also going to be going over some of the specs, what kind of bikes this can handle. We're going to take a look at it in real on-road use, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the different safety and security things that come along with it, and about how you can best use it. But to start off with the versatility, there are going to be 3 contact points for each of our bikes. We're going to have 2 ratcheting wheel straps, 1 for each wheel, and we're also going to have a mast and cradle attachment that can be attached to the tire and different parts of your frame. It's going to operate pretty simply. Right now we've got it here around our wheel, but I'm going to go ahead and release it, and we're going to take a look at just what this mast can actually do. So it is going to be maneuverable back and forth at a pretty good rate here. So you got a lot of room back and forth to kind of maneuver this, and it's going to be able to be moved up and down accordingly as well as having this articulating head, which is going to allow us in this case to go on the seat post here. We can lower it and get it around our cross tube here, or we can just bring it right back to the wheel where we had it. And if you have a bike with fenders on it, obviously we're not going to be able to attach it the way we are right here. But what we would be able to do is bring it over and attach it somewhere on the frame. However, if you've got a specialty frame, maybe a custom paint job or a carbon fiber frame, we're really not going to want to be mounting it on here so we don't damage it. In that case, we'll come back here to the wheel. And in order to get these on, you're just going to feed your strap right here through this slot. It's going to start clicking away, as you can hear. And once we get this kind of tight, we can use this tab here to ratchet it until it's really snug. And once it's in this position, we'll be able to take our included set of keys and we'll be able to lock this in. And once that's locked into place, it's not going to allow you to lift this tab up and release it. So it's going to keep your bike secured to the bike rack. And our wheel straps down here are essentially going to work the same way. You know, they're going to be able to be released just like this, fed through, and then ratcheted down tight. Now, let's talk for a minute about kind of the safer zones on the bike where you could actually mount your cradles. If you're going to mount it on the wheel, we really want it only to be on the rear wheel. The front wheel we don't want to do because being on the handlebars, this has too much movement. It's not going to be very secure. So on the rear wheel, I would say about the 1 o'clock position would be the best place to put it. And when it comes to the frame, we need to make sure that it's out of the way of the chain, but really anything along here, or the seat stem itself are all safe places to put your mast and cradle. This will accommodate bikes that have anywhere between a 20 and a 29-inch wheel diameter, up to a 53-inch wheel base, and it will accommodate tires up to 3 inches wide. Now, if you do have a fat bike and you have tires that are more than 3 inches wide, there is an available strap kit through Thule that's going to be an extension for those type of bikes. They come in pairs, and you can buy them right here at etrailer.com. Each of these trays can accommodate a bike up to 75 pounds. However, in total, we really don't want more than 160 pounds on this rack. So if maybe you have 2 e-bikes or something that weigh around that 70 or 75 pound mark, you can use both of those on here. However, we're going to need to leave that 3rd tray open because it's just going to go over our overall weight capacity. So as long as the total weight is under 160 pounds and you have 75 pounds or less on each bike tray, you should be good. Now, depending on the vehicle that you have, your Thule Epos might be sitting a little bit high up off the ground. So if you do have one of those heavier bikes that's in that 50 to 75 pound range, And, you know, with the rise off of the shank with the Epos here, that just seems a little bit daunting as far as you getting your bike up and down from there easily. There is a foldable ramp available through Thule. It is available right here at etrailer.com. And it attaches right here underneath the wheel tray for the bike. And we have an attachment point for each of our trays on either end of the vehicle, both the driver and the passenger side. So let's talk just a little bit about security and safety. Now, we touched a bit on the fact that all of our cradles on our masts here are lockable. They're all key-to-like to the same set of keys that came with the Epos when you purchased it. And it's also going to be key-to-like to the locking hitch pin that secures the bike rack into our hitch. Now, as far as Thule's one key system works, what that essentially means is that you can get these key-to-like to any of your other Thule accessories, so you don't have multiple sets of keys. You can literally have one key that's going to unlock everything branded Thule for you, and all those different lock cores and combinations are available right here at etrailer.com. Now, one of the things to keep in mind about a platform bike rack like the Epos is that they do have a tendency to kind of block out the entire back half of your vehicle. It could impair you visually as far as being able to see out of the back, but it can also impair other drivers from being able to see what you're doing safely. So the Epos comes with an integrated taillight kit along with a license plate kit. Now, depending on where you're traveling to, it could actually be illegal to have these blocked. So to have a kit like this is really, really nice, and it's going to allow you to be able to travel safely wherever you want to go. But this is going to plug in through your four-way trailer wiring in the back of your vehicle. If you don't have four-way trailer wiring, they are available right here at etrailer.com. You just want to make sure that you use our fit guide and get the correct one. So now we've talked a little bit about what the Epos is and what it can do. Let's see it in action. We're going to take it out into the lot here at eTrailer and take it on our road course and see how it performs. So as we begin our road course, the first set of bumps we're going to come across are alternating, so we're really going to see a lot of the side-to-side movement here. And then it's going to switch over to a matching bump, and we're going to get a lot of the vertical movement right here. And as you can see, like with any platform bike rack, we are going to have some jostling around back there, but most of that movement isn't coming from the shank inside the hitch receiver. It's actually going to be coming more from the contact point, the pivot point for our tilt down on the platform. Now at this point, I'm kind of driving through, making some right turns and some left turns, seeing how much sway and give we have as we go around our parking lot. And again, a little bit of movement, but not really any more than I would be expecting. Now, one of the biggest questions that we always get when it comes to platform hitch bike racks is what kind of access will you get in your tailgate or your liftgate or your trunk? So we do actually have a tilt-away feature with the Epos. It's going to be operated through this foot pedal right here. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up bracing the bike. Now, normally, it's not recommended that you brace the bike and use that to tilt back. However, with the way that the Epos is designed, you really kind of don't have a choice. Now, if you're driving around with a 3-bike rack, I'm going to go ahead and make the assumption that you've probably got somebody with you in the car that can help with this. I would just recommend a little bit of extra load support. We don't have very heavy bikes on here today. However, you can imagine if you did have those heavier bikes and you had this maxed out at the 160 pounds, this could be a pretty daunting task on your own. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to brace the bike so this just doesn't fall away uncontrolled. I'm going to go ahead and depress our pedal, and I'm going to tilt it away from the vehicle. Now, as you can see, this has a really aggressive tilt. I mean, that is an awful lot. And as a matter of fact, even with this tailgate here, this isn't the case in most pickup trucks where you actually have room with the tilt-away to do this. But in the case of this, we actually do. The problem that we run into is that it doesn't come down far enough because of this part of the rack right here. But if we have a lift gate, this is generally plenty of clearance to get it up and down and out of the way. And we don't have to engage the pedal to get it back up. This is the part where it would help to have a friend with you if we had it a whole lot heavier. But all we need to do is get it up and back into position and listen for that click. Now we're locked back into our upright driving position and we're ready to get back on the road. Now, as far as what order to load your bikes in, you don't want to go by the size of the bike, you really want to go by the weight. Your heaviest bike should be the first one loaded, and it should always be located closest to the vehicle. Now, when it comes to loading the bike up, once you get it on the tray, the idea is that you always want to attach your mast first so it can leave it upright and supported while you put on your wheel straps. As we're taking the bike off, we're going to do the exact opposite. We're going to detach our wheel straps first and then move up to our mast and cradle. So the first thing I'll do is go ahead and depress that tab, release my wheel straps, and I'm going to feed them out through the wheel and clear it out the other side. I'm going to do the same thing back here on my rear wheel, out and all the way through the other side. And now I'm going to support the bike upright, and I'm going to detach my cradle. Now with this detached, I can move the cradle out of the way, maybe shrink it down just to give it less of a footprint and be, less interfering with everything. And if you notice, there's a bit of a curvature to the tray here. Now, if it's a light enough bike, I could go ahead and grab it, lift it right off, and be fine. If it's a heavier bike or I want to use my ramp, I could attach to whichever end is appropriate, and I could easily roll it back and forth whichever direction I need to down that ramp. Right now, I'm just going to pull it and lift it off just like this. And at this point, before moving on to my next bike, I can go ahead and secure my straps and move that mast down and out of our way. Now, another thing you might be curious about is how is this going to fit in your hitch with your bumper on your vehicle? So we're going to take a couple of measurements that maybe can help you figure that out. The measurements we're going to be taking are going to be from the center of our hitch pin hole. That way it can determine, no matter what vehicle you have, you can make these measurements and compare them. So we're going to measure according to where this big rise is right here. That would be your trouble spot as far as whether or not it's going to actually fit on your vehicle. So we're going to measure from the center of our hitch pin hole up to the start of that rise. And that measurement is going to come right at 5.5 inches to where that starts. We're going to take a measurement from the hitch pin hole to where the tallest point is right here. And that measurement is going to come out to 7 inches from the hitch pin hole. And we're going to take a measurement of how tall it is as well. 6.5 inches tall at its highest point. So using those three measurements, you ought to be able to tell if this really aggressive rise that the Epos has is going to be able to fit around your bumper. But the other thing we're going to take a look at is just what kind of footprint is this going to leave behind the vehicle. We had mentioned before that there's going to be a lot of blockage back here, including with your rear view camera. So understanding what kind of footprint this leaves behind the bumper can be crucial. So if we're going to go ahead and measure that again from the center of that hitch pin hole, out to the furthest point of our rack, which is going to be right at the edge of this pedal here, we're looking at about 42.75 inches. So just keep in mind, you got an extra 3.5 feet back here at least that you're going to have to account for when you're parallel parking or backing into a tighter space. Now, one of the things that the Epos doesn't have that a lot of platform bike racks do is a stowaway position, meaning that while there's no bikes on the rack, you can use your lever and rather than tilt it away, you could actually fold it up against the back of the vehicle. No such feature here on the Epos, but luckily the people at Thule actually thought of that a bit. The Epos is made from a powder-coated aluminum and an ABS plastic on the wheel trays, which for a 3-bike rack that has the weight capacity that the Epos does, actually makes it come in at a really lightweight 54 pounds. Meaning that this is not a bike rack that's going to be terribly difficult to install and uninstall from your hitch whenever it's not in use. So if we're going to remove the Epos from our hitch, the first step we're going to do is actually collapse it and fold it up into each other. Now, while this may seem like a more compact way to drive with it, you know, taillights visible, everything else, Thule doesn't actually recommend you do that because there really isn't any kind of locking mechanism keeping it upright like this. So it really is still better to actually remove it completely from the hitch. So after collapsing it upright, we're going to go ahead and unplug our four-way wiring, put the dust cap back onto it, and replace it here on the vehicle as well. Make sure that those points stay clean. We're just going to kind of get this up and out of our way for the moment. Next, we're going to take our keys, and you notice this lock here. Now, this is key-to-like to those locks that we had up on our mast and cradle securing our bikes. So we're just going to go ahead and take that, and we're going to get our lever unlocked. Now, this is what's actually securing the shank here of our bike rack into our hitch. And it's going to be controlled by a lever system, and that lever system is going to work like this. This lever is going to control a wedge that is inside of the shank here. So it's located on your shank, and as you crank this tighter, it's going to expand it, and it's actually going to make it tight in the hitch and give it a real anti-rattle quality. Okay, so once we remove this kind of levered hitch pin right here, and we get it unlocked, we're going to go ahead and get to work on loosening this up. So we'll bring it around just like so. And now as we get here, we get some interference, but we can actually bend this lever out. We just need to push out like this, and this will swing outwards, and it'll allow us to bring it around and loosen it up some more. Now when loosening it, I just leave it in this position. It just makes it quicker. When you're tightening it though, those last couple of turns, you are going to want to pop this out and really get that extra leverage as you're tightening it up. But while I'm loosening it, I'm just going to leave it folded. It'll just make the process go a bit quicker. And as I loosen this, that wedge is going to like disengage from in here. As you can see, there's a lot more movement in the shank after we started loosening it up. So I'm just going to give it a couple more turns. And then when I think I've got it good and loose enough, I'm going to go ahead and bring this back around. And I just want to secure it in here, just so it's not flying around loose and break on us. Now with that done, I could go ahead and I could grab it from these handles here, which I think are really convenient. We're going to pull it right out of our hitch and set it down. So now from this position, there's a little lever right back here that I can depress, and what that's going to allow me to do is fold our shank in just like this, making this entire rack really, really compact. So it doesn't have to be something that just lives in the hitch all the time. A lot of three-bike racks weigh a lot more than this 54 pounds, and in those cases, I would definitely, absolutely want that stowaway position. With this rack, though, being as lightweight as it is, if you're not somebody that's riding every single day, this could be an excellent option because it really does fold up pretty small. It's going to be very easy to store in your garage, in your truck bed, or even in the back of your SUV. It's also going to have some wheels to it, so when it comes to transporting it, it's going to be really easy to just pick it up and roll it to wherever you need it to be. So all in all, I think the Thule Epos is an excellent option for anybody that's looking for a three-bike rack that's going to be able to carry a variety of bikes, whether it's the style, the weight, size, shape, how it's mounted. The Epos really does have an idea for all of those different bikes and how they're going to get it to fit on here. The one downside would be if you're somebody that likes to ride their bike every single day or just several times a week, to the point where you're riding so often that you really just don't want to remove the bike rack from your hitch. Not having a stowaway position is, to me, kind of the biggest drawback of the Epos, but they do make up for it by making it extremely lightweight and really easy to remove and install in the hitch, and really easy to store when it's not in use. Again, it gets compact enough that it could go in your truck bed, the back of your SUV, the corner of your garage, lots of different places that you could keep it. I love the feature of having the integrated light kit. That really is something that a lot of people don't think about when they're looking at hitch bike racks, is just how much of the back of the vehicle gets blocked up. and the safety of themselves and other drivers on the road by having those other drivers be able to clearly see your taillights. I also think that for the weight of this bike rack, the Epos does a really good job of giving us a high weight capacity. A lot of 3-bike racks like this just don't have the ability to go 75 pounds a tray or even 160 pounds overall. A lot of them that I look at have 40 to 50 pound weight capacities on each tray and an overall weight capacity of 120 pounds. So all of those, I think, are excellent reasons for you to take a look at the Epos. If you decide that the Thule Epos is the right bike rack for you and you have the opportunity to get it, install it, and use it a few times, please share with us what you think of it in the comments below. We would love to share your story with our other neighbors so they can make the best decision for themselves. Once again, this is Curt with eTrailer. Thanks for stopping by.